I would like to begin with a question. And it's a great question. I know that because I asked it when I was a bacha, a single man in Yeshiva. And I asked my Rosh Yeshiva, Var Yisrael Simcha Shor, he should live and be well. And I said, listen, it's Tisha B'Av, and I'm feeling really guilty. And he asked me why. And I said, because they're showing this video today. And this was just when the Tisha B'Av videos started being shown around the world. And I enjoy them so much. I'm so inspired by them. They lift me up so high that I feel bad on the national day of Jewish mourning. I'm having such a good time. And he gave me a beautiful response I must share with you. He said to me, Lawrence, don't be too upset. What will happen to Tisha B'Av when Mashiach comes, when the Messiah comes? And I said, it's going to turn into a Yom Tov. He said, correct. He said, the fact that you are beginning, and the world is beginning to enjoy Tisha B'Av more and more every year, means that we are getting closer to that Yom Tov, and we're getting closer to Mashiach coming. So if, during the talk I give today, you enjoy yourself and you feel inspired, please do not feel guilty. Enjoy. It means we're getting closer to the times of Mashiach. That being said, Mashiach is not here yet. We are still in Galut, still in exile, and the third temple has not been built. And this is the national day of mourning. And there were 7 calamities, 7 tragedies that befell our people over history. And they were, number 1, the spies, the Meradlim, came back with their evil report, and the Jewish people cried all night over that. That, say the rabbis, say Chazal, was the first Tisha B'Av. Number 2, the Talmud in Yoma tells us the first temple was destroyed in 586 BCE. The second temple was destroyed on this day, 70 CE. Or Chaim tells us, and Mishnah Berurah mentions it, that Beitar, that large Jewish city, was captured and destroyed 132 CE with the people in it. The temple site was plowed over 133 CE, and the Abarbanel describes on the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, 24, and says that the Jewish people were exiled from France on this date in 1306, and exiled from Spain 1492. And he says, his own words, the Spanish king did not know the significance of that day. It was as if that day was decreed in heaven, says the Abarbanel, Ki'ilu min hashamayim hidrichuhu. It's as though this whole decree had come from a much higher place. Now we as Jews look back at these terrible events that have befallen our people, and we ask questions. And the big question we ask is why? Why does this happen? And why on this day? And that's a classic question that Jews have asked for thousands of years. Now I do not know the answer to that question. That's because I'm in sales, I'm not in management. I sell the product, and God manages the world. However, greater people than myself have looked deeply into finding an answer as to why Jewish suffering and Jewish exile has carried on for so long. And non-Jewish scholars have given their answers. And they will give sociological answers, and psychological answers, and political reasons, and military reasons as to why these events happen to us over history. But we Jews are expected to look a little bit deeper. And the rabbis have come forward over the years, and they've given answers. And they tell us that the first temple was destroyed because of the 3 cardinal sins: murder, idol worship, and forbidden sexual relationships. And the second temple, they say, which is going to be the focus of today, was destroyed because of sinat chinam, baseless hatred, which is connected, say the rabbis, to lashon hara. And this is obviously epitomized by the famous story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. And Bar Kamsa, we read in the Talmud, was not invited to a party. He turns up anyway. He is publicly embarrassed by Kamsa for arriving there. And he is thrown out of this very large event. And all the sages and important Jewish people at the time were there, yet did nothing to prevent his busha, his embarrassment. He goes along. He speaks badly of the Jewish people to Caesar. From that point onwards, the Jewish people are in a downward spiral until the temple itself is destroyed over this incident. Says the Maharal of Prague in Netzach Yisrael chapter 5, the word kamtza gives us a little bit of an understanding as to the problem. The word kamtza, he says, means divisive, split. The Jewish people were not united at that time. And that, he says, is the sinat chinam, the baseless hatred. That was the lashon hara. There was division among our people. And when division happens, a breach occurs, and then bad tragedies and calamities can happen to us. Says the Sfas Emes in his Rosh Hashanah essay, 5641, if that's the problem, if the problem for the Jewish people is that we are divided, which we still must be to some degree, because the temple was not built in our generation, then you're going to have to say that there is a tikkun, a fix-up. And the tikkun, the fix-up, has to weigh together with the offense. So if the problem is sinas chinam, it's baseless hatred, the fix-up, you're going to have to say, is Ahavat Yisrael, says the Sfas Emes. If we can love our fellow Jew, our fellow man, then maybe the temple will be rebuilt through that. I want to focus on one area of this Ahavat Yisrael. And of course this is mentioned in the Torah itself, that the mitzvah is to v'ahavta l'orecha kamocha. We have to love our fellow Jew as we love ourselves. But I'm going to try to funnel this down into one specific area, an area which I believe is overlooked. And in society today, through my rabbinic counseling that I do, and the many, many couples I've been honored to marry and been involved with after the marriage, especially the first year, the discussion I want to look at is one area of v'ahavta l'orecha kamocha, and that is shalom bayit. Something which I believe has been overlooked. Peace in the home, and peace and love and respect between husband and wife. Because there is no closer re'ah, there's no closer person who we deal with on a daily, hourly, minute by minute basis than our spouses. I believe that if we can seriously work on the shalom bayit issues, the respect at home and the speech, I think that will have a trickle effect out into the relationship with other Jews. And we're lopsided at the moment. I'll share a story with you to explain what I mean by we're living a lopsided existence. I was going for an Erev Shabbat walk with my friend. It was 2 hours before Shabbat. It was meant to be a run, ended up becoming a walk. And I saw a Jewish guy right outside my house, a door down, trying to change his tire on his car. And he was struggling and hocking away with the lugs on the wheel. So obviously we saw him, we ran over, can we help you? He was so appreciative. He schlepped out the thing from his trunk and we started to work at it, and I got fully involved. I was turning each lug and I was schwitzing and I was hocking away at the tire. My hands were covered in grease. 45 minutes later, we managed somehow to put the donut in his trunk onto the car. I go home, I feel good about myself. I fulfill this mitzvah. V'ahavta l'orecha kamocha. If I was in that situation, I would want a fellow Jew or any person to come and help me change the tire. I go home. I feel proud of myself. My wife says to me, you know, we're having a problem. The inspection on our car has run out. And we just got a ticket for $65 because they saw my car in Manhattan and they gave me a ticket for being 3 days out. Could I go and just have the car inspected? The place is empty now. Just go to Bob, who's our guy, who inspects the car, and get a ticket. And I was like, what, now? I mean, it's Shabbat soon. I got things to do. I got to shower. I got to get dressed, do a little bit of learning. I want to prepare myself. And then I thought to myself, 1 second. When it came to another Jew out there, I couldn't wait to spend 45 minutes getting greased up, changing his tire. But a simple request from my wife, which would have taken me 20, 30 minutes, I didn't have time or patience for. And I had an epiphany. I had a realization. For some reason, I'm willing to do chesed for other people, but when it comes to my wife and my family, suddenly I'm double guessing her, I'm giving excuses, the car's going to be in the driveway for the next few days anyway, we're not going to get a ticket, it'll keep it till Monday, and this upset her. I did actually go in the end, after a bit more persuasion. So what happened? Why are we putting Shalom Bayit, respect in the home, the closest version, I believe, of V'ahavta l'orecha kamocha, so far behind? And the reason is we don't get our priorities right. But the Torah tells us specifically that we're doing it wrong. It does begin at home. And the Torah says that one spouse is meant to become a husband and wife as basar echad, which literally means one flesh. And there's many commentaries as to what exactly the Torah means when it says that we and our husbands and our wives are meant to become one flesh. And Rashi says it means have children, because when children come, they are half Imma and they're half Abba, of course, which makes sense. Even genetically, we know that children are half mother and father. The Ramban, Nachmanides, Rav Moshe ben Nachman, he says that through marriage, we become the closest of relatives. But I want to share another idea with you, which maybe will help us flesh this idea out. Excuse the pun. And it goes like this. The Sefer Mitzvos HaGadol, chapter 9, says, imagine you're in the kitchen and you're cutting a piece of meat. And while you're cutting that meat, you slice your left hand. Would you imagine the hand that was cut turning around to the hand with the knife and saying, stupid hand, what were you thinking? Why didn't you look what you were doing? Why couldn't you focus on when you were cutting the meat? I mean, if you saw me do that, you'd think I'm in need of medication. And you'd be right. Why not? Because I'm one. Left hand, right hand, it's all one flesh. It's all me. So too, says the Smag, are the Jewish people. And how much more so husband and wife. How could you ever argue with a fellow Jew? How could you argue with your husband and wife? You're one flesh. Now that's a challenge, I hear. But that's really the level we are meant to be hoping to attain in our family life between us and our spouses, and hopefully between us and the rest of the Jewish people. And I'm sad to say that divorce rates here in the US, and this should be no surprise to anyone watching on Tisha B'Av, are very, very high. 50% of divorces happen with a first marriage. And of a second marriage, it's 67%. And third marriage, 74%. 74% of third marriages are ending in divorce. It's a crazy world. It's a division. It's a split. It happens because there is no temple, because there is no shalom, because we are in Galus. It must be related. Now, I believe the Jewish numbers are less, I hear, but make no mistake. I don't know how far behind we are, but we're still there. We're still making the statistics. I want to share a couple of ideas with you over this. I went to a rabbinic conference a number of years ago, and there was a rabbinic panel that we in the audience would ask questions. There was doctors up there, and there were professors, and there were rabbis. And the question that came from someone in the audience was, please tell us why the divorce rates are so high. And everyone gave great answers. One person said, it's because not enough love in the world. Good. We don't respect each other. Also probably true. There was a psychiatrist there who gave the following answer. He said this is the reason for the high divorce rates in our culture today. Now, I thought he'd gone crazy, but he was making a very, very powerful and important point. He was saying we live in a plastic cup culture. It's all disposable. We don't keep anything anymore. If we have something, we use it, we throw it away. When I was growing up, I used to have a beautiful pen. I loved it. I had a relationship with it, as much as you can with a pen. It was a black pen with a blob on top, you know? And I felt close to it. I had it in high school. I had it in university. I had it in Yeshiva. I had it during my smicha. When I used to lend it to someone, I would hold the cap to make sure I'd get it back. Eventually I lost it. Who has that nowadays? Now you have a pen. You throw it away. You get a new one. The pens in my pocket could be a hotel I went to, a conference, a restaurant. I don't know. It breaks. Throw it away. Get a new one. Your car. No one fixes their car anymore. Your brakes fail, you throw it away, you get a new one. iPods. Who fixes their iPod? You have it 3-4 years, you break it, you throw it away, you get a new one. If we live in such a disposable culture, and if our radio breaks, throw it away, get a new one. The brakes fail, throw them away, get a new one. The cups, throw them away, get a new one. Your marriage breaks, throw it away, get a new one. A very, very powerful answer. Now, America is a very, very great country. I'm not originally from America. You may tell from my accent. You may have thought New Jersey, but you'd be wrong. But America is a very great country to its people, and especially the Jewish people. Historically, it's definitely up there. And there's one thing, however, that America preaches, and we are very, very honored and lucky to be part of that message, and that is that we have rights. We as individuals here in America, have rights. We have right to free speech. We have a right to assembly. We have the right to bear arms. We have the right to do many things in this wonderful country called America. However, Judaism doesn't speak of rights. Judaism has no rights. What do we have instead of rights? Obligations. Chiyuvim. I have no right to my suit. I mean, I have it, I bought it, I own it. Then what's stopping anyone else from taking my suit off my back, if they like it and they want it? Because they have an obligation not to steal from me. So it's not, I have a right to it, everything belongs to Hashem. I just have possession of it right now. But everyone else is obligated not to take it. So it puts the onus on everyone else to take care of me and to make sure they don't hurt me, damage me, or offend me. I am not an island, as once was said. I am part of a nation, of an Am. And that's a great thing. So we're all about expressing that relationship to other people. We're forced into it. Another answer I'd like to share about divorce and the problems with shalom bayis. And it goes like this. Check this out. The Mishnah at the end of Sota talks about the generation before Mashiach comes. And it says the following. It says that before Mashiach comes, there is going to be a door, the Pnei door actually, will have Pnei Kelev. The people of that generation will have the face of a dog. Now, I don't think we're all going to be looking like Chihuahuas or Alsatians, I hope not, although that could be partially true. More about that later. However, it's making a message. And there's a famous answer, which I'll just mention, although it's nothing to do with today, possibly. And Chazal say that this refers to the leaders of our generation. They're like the face of a dog. The dog is running along, and usually its master walks behind it. However, you'd think if you saw that scene that the dog is in charge. What happens? The master makes a left turn, the dog turns its face, sees where its master is going, and then will follow it. So it looks like the dog is leading, but really it's following the person behind it. So too, say the rabbis, we're going to live in a generation, which we are, where the leaders have no real power. They just follow the masses and will turn their face and agree with whatever is the common cause and concern of the day. There's another beautiful idea, and the Maharal mentions this. And he says, what exactly is a dog? A dog is a kelev. And the word kelev is actually made up of two words, kol leiv, which means all heart. That's what the dog is. Now think about a dog for a second. I don't want to offend dog lovers and dog owners. I know people get very personal about their dogs, but just hear me through about the dog business. Dogs are pretty useless. I mean, if you really be honest and think about it, they are. I mean, the cow gives us milk, gives us its skin. The goat gives us its wool, and sheep gives us its wool and its milk, and we get cheese, and they can push items for us. What does a dog do? Nothing really. However, the cow and the sheep and the goat are left outdoor in the barn, and the dog, he gets to come inside the house, eat from the table, and sleep in our beds. Why is that? Because the dog has a very important quality, and that is loyalty. The dog is very, very loyal. Says the Maharal, it's so loyal that it's kol lev, it's all heart. And he refers to a dog as tachlis hahedar. It's all about the other person. Whatever its master is, it becomes. When we refer to the generation before Mashiach, which pretty much everyone agrees is the generation we are in now, we're saying we have a generation that has no sense of self. No sense of self-worth. It's kol leiv. It's purely emotional. It's purely out there. It doesn't feel anything. We are living in a generation of people who are lacking emotional intimacy. They have no intimacy. Let me explain why. Because the word intimacy is actually broken up into a few words. And that is, into me, you see. Intimacy equals into me, you see. And people are scared to reveal their true selves. People are so out of touch with themselves that they have nothing inside. They're like the kelev. It's all love and just follow whatever is out there today. And that's a problem. I have a study here, and if it wasn't so sad, it would be very funny. And this was in Reuters a few years ago. And the title was Men Really Are Afraid of Commitment. Confirming what women have long known, an American study just released says men are dragging their feet on getting married. Duh. Researchers say one of the biggest reasons that men are delaying marriage is that more and more couples are choosing to live together before marriage. In a sense, says David Popno of the Rutgers University National Marriage Project, he gets a quasi-wife. That's good for her self-esteem. Another big concern, in addition to cohabitation, is that these men are very, very concerned about divorce. It's not getting a heart broken, says the study. Listen to this is the punchline. The worst thing that could happen is that somebody could take their money. I mean, if it wasn't so ridiculous and sad, we could laugh at it. But that's the world we're living in. There's no intimacy. There's nothing there. We're empty vessels waiting to be filled up with something. But if we don't fill it up, we're left with nothing. So that's the idea of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Let's go a little bit deeper into this. The rabbis tell us that this idea of loving a fellow like ourselves, which again we're following the Shalom Bayit, the home, the family paradigm, as the ultimate example of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, is constant work. You see, I can work on a friend and do a chesed for a friend or a family member, but when it comes to my spouse, you have to be constantly in it. And there's a beautiful story, which if you hear the story, it could change your life and the way you see your marriage. And if you're not in a marriage yet, it's worth hearing. Avram Avinu, Abraham, was visited by 3 angels, we're told, just after his circumcision, his bris milah. He was in a lot of pain, but the pain of not having guests was more of a pain than his circumcision. And they each came with a mission, but they asked him a question. And they asked him, Vayamru elav, Aye Sarah ishtecha, where, Abraham, is Sarah, your wife? Vayomer, and he answered, Hinei va'ohel, she is in the tent. Now Rashi is puzzled by this question. These are angels. Don't they know where Sarah is? And if they were angels, they probably knew that Abraham knew where Sarah was. So what exactly were they asking? And Rashi is puzzled by this. He's concerned. And he gives a few answers. I want to focus on one answer. One answer is that the angels wanted Avram Avinu to love his wife even more. Because when he said she's in the tent, she's building my Jewish home, he would love her even more, says Rashi. What a peculiar Rashi. He would love her. He's 100 years old. She's 90. He doesn't love her by now. Forget about it. And of course he loved her. They had a fantastic married life. They were one team. They were basar echad. What does Rashi mean when he says that the angels wanted Abraham to love Sarah? And I heard a beautiful answer from one of my teachers. And I'm sure this is written somewhere. And he said to me, it never ends. Even Avram Avinu, even the great Abraham, the spiritual master that he was, at the age of 100, still needed chizuk, still needed strengthening in this area. You can't ever give up. The angels wanted to bring more love into the house, more love into the family. And even Avram Avinu needed it. He also needed a boost. If he needs it, how much more so ourselves? And this was passed down, I believe, to his grandson, Yaakov. Yaakov, we know, had a pretty terrible uncle by the name of Lavan. And Lavan wanted Yaakov to work for him for 7 years, says the Torah, in order to marry the one he wanted, and that was Rachel. And the Pasuk says something fascinating. You must hear this. V'yavod Yaakov b'Rachel sheva shanim. And Yaakov was willing to work 7 years in order to take the hand of Rachel in marriage. Vayu be'einav. It appeared in his eyes, those 7 years, kayomim achodim, like a few days. Ba'avatosa, because he loved her. And that's an extraordinary thing. It seemed in his eyes like a few days, but it was 7 years. And by the way, how do you say a few days in Hebrew? I don't know, yomim muatim? Right? What's achadim? So Chazal say a beautiful thing. Achadim comes from the Lashon, from the language of echad, one. He didn't see it as 7 years. He saw it as 7 years, day by day. Or as we say, he took those 7 years one day at a time. And that's how he got through it. Every single day was work. Every day was an opportunity to show his love, to express his love. And that's how his love grew, by taking one day at a time. I performed a marriage a number of years ago, and I'm sad to say this, but I felt unusual under the chuppah, and it was a very fancy wedding in the Grand Hyatt in Manhattan. The wedding cost more than my house. And under the chuppah, something was off. I didn't know exactly what, but I knew that something was off a little bit. The next morning, it was a Motzei Shabbat, Saturday night, a late Saturday night wedding. Sunday morning, I wake up, and I see that the Chatan, the groom, is calling me. This is a true story. An extreme story, but a true one. He's calling me the next morning. Unusual. Usually I expect a week later, after Shabbat Brachot, to call me. And I answer the phone, and I say, David, everything okay? And he says, yeah, fine. I was just wondering, Rabbi, is there any way we can annul the wedding? I was like, what? You just got married? He said, yeah, but, right after the chuppah, I said something to her about her mother, and she said something about my father. We got into a fight. It got ugly. We actually argued all night. We decided this isn't a shidduch, and we would like to annul the wedding, whatever that means. And I could barely get the words out of my mouth. I said, you just got married. Give it a month, a week, a 24-hour period. Are you insane? You just got in there over my dead body. There's absolutely no way. You're going to give it a chance, and you're going to work at it, because 12 hours is not enough time to work it out. He did, actually, and he went through serious counseling, and things never got perfect, but they became tolerable, and they just gave birth, thank God, to twins. Look, it's an extreme story, but every couple that I've been involved with, and all of us know that it can be challenging. The v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash, especially when it comes to family relationships, is tough. It's banging heads against each other. But we have to put our effort in, even a little bit, and it's every day. One of my students asked me a beautiful question. They said, why is it that the next world is not mentioned in the Torah? Not explicitly. It's hinted at, but not explicitly mentioned in the 5 books of Moses. And I said to him, you're right, it's not mentioned, because that's not our concern. However, the word Hayom, today, is mentioned a lot. Because I got to focus on today, one day at a time. That was Yaakov. That was Avram Avinu. That's rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash. What can I get right today? The future? I don't know. But I have to put my effort in today. So let's say like this. This is my friend and colleague, Rav Benzion Klatsko. He says that Judaism is not a religion. Judaism is not a religion. It's a relationship. It's a relationship between Jew and Jew. It's a relationship between us and God, a relationship between us and each other, between us and our rabbis, us and our employees, and the relationship between us and our spouses. And that's who we are. Because we as humans are not rational beings. Even the smartest person in the world ultimately is an emotional creature. That's who we are. We are by nature emotional beings and not rational beings. And the Torah knows that and says we have to work on that and put our effort into it. As a kid, I always thought that shalom bayit meant that if mommy wants something, we buy it, we have shalom. But there's obviously a lot more to it than just that. So how do we do it? What's the secret? And Rav Dessler, in his beautiful Sfarim, printed a number of essays that describe this. And he says that there must be a formula. You can't just command an emotion. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha, ahavat Yisrael. There has to be a system built in. And the system is there. And if you want to find it, it's in the word ahava. The word ahava has a shoresh, a root, and that is hav. Hav means to give. Loving follows the giving. Now let me be clear about this. There is a mistake in the outside world that if you want somebody to love you, you have to give them. Valentine's Day comes around, or one of the Jewish holidays. If you give your wife or you give your husband something, they will love you. But we know that's not true. The clearest proof to that are children. Imagine a child that's given whatever he or she wants. They're 9 years old, 10 years old, They want the newest games, whatever you want, Bubala. You don't want to go to bed at bedtime, you want to stay up to 2 in the morning, whatever you want. You don't want broccoli and meat for dinner, you want chocolate, it's yours. What happens to that child after all that receiving when they become teenagers? They become unbearable. They need therapy. You've crushed them. There is nothing left. Why? What a loving parent. Gave and gave and gave. But the child took and took. Says Rav Dessler, it doesn't work that way. The way that you will love is by giving. The exact opposite to the Western model that we're used to. Which means if I give my wife something, or she gives me something, she will love me. Truth be told, whether she wants to or not. Because the love will follow the giving. Here is the giving, and the love will follow it. As the famous example, I think Rav Dessler mentions himself, of the man that says, I love fish. And the rabbi said to him, no you don't. He says, yes I do. I love fish. And the rabbi said, no you don't. He says, yes I do. I love fish. And the rabbi said, if you love fish, you wouldn't catch it, kill it, skin it, cover it with your favorite herbs and spices, put it in the oven for 40 minutes on a low temperature. You don't love fish, you enjoy fish. You love yourself. You love the taste of fish. You love what it does to you. So that word love has become kidnapped and taken as meaning self-love. But that's not the idea. Love, ahava, as the Torah describes it a number of times, is about the other person. Turning it around. Now you can enjoy fish and enjoy pizza and enjoy a lot of wonderful things in this world, but that's not love. That is enjoyment. Love is a process of giving. There's a famous story of the young couple who go and see the rabbi. And she bursts out crying. She's crying and floods of tears are coming out of her eyes. And the rabbi said, what's the problem? And she points at her husband and she says, I've been married for 5 years and he never tells me he loves me. And the rabbi looks shocked, looks at the husband and said, is that true? And the husband says, yeah, it's true. When we first got married, I told her I loved her. If anything changes, I'll let her know. Now it's a joke. It may have happened, maybe not yet. But there's an element of truth to it. It's constant. We have to put our effort into it every single day. And it's small things. Big changes are not expected of us. But I believe that the Mishkan, the Beis HaMikdash, is rebuilt. And it's in our homes. And if we can perfect that model, we can take that Mikdash Ma'at and build it up into something special, powerful, and unified. We can defeat the Bar Kamsa, the division that is inside all of us as a people, and that will spread out to the rest of our people. And I believe, please God, it will end up with the building of the third temple, preceded by the coming of Mashiach, Bimheira, B'yameinu, Amen. Thank you.